Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that you were able to do some house cleaning on your emotional body, your spiritual body, astral body, all the different parts of you yesterday and today. I don't know if you're having these kind of symptoms, but boy, I woke up. I could not really get up in time for my alarm. I slept a long time again. And when I woke up, I felt like I was stumbling. I had to hold on to the wall. I felt very nauseated and very completely out of it. I felt like the gravity was pulling on my body, double what it normally does. At the same time, it felt like we have gone up in elevation by another 1,000 feet. I've had a hard time breathing all day from the high elevation, which I haven't even checked that one yet. And then I had a simultaneous feeling as if I am in a 17-foot tall body, an enormous body. And it feels like very pale, lightweight, see-through, crystal type of body. When I shut my eyes, it's kind of what I see in my mind. And so I felt like all day I was getting ready to just float around the room, but at the same time my physical body was being dragged down harder, like it was really hard to walk, very weak. I know that a lot of people have been having a lot of pain in the spine, upper to mid spine, as well as hips have been a real problem for a lot of people lately. Lots of tinnitus, a lot of ear stuff. And now not only are the ear chakras coming online and getting an upgrade, but you're going to get a tone in one ear that's different than the tone in the other ear. Yay, something to look forward to. So I hope that you enjoy what I'm going to talk to you guys about tonight. We're going to go over what a narcissist is. And once you understand what a narcissist is and what a narcissist does, then you can learn to avoid these toxic people. I don't know why, but there's a lot more narcissists than there ever was before. And I believe I read somewhere that it's like 1 in 10 people are like a psychopath, and sociopath, it's like, probably the same, 1 in 10. And narcissists, I think, is also 1 in 10, maybe 2 in 10. It really feels like it's a fifth of the people. But, I don't know. I mean, narcissists are toxic people, but they're so charismatic, I guess is the right word. They're so charismatic that they attract and draw attention to them. And that's what they want. Because they're narcissists. That's just, and what I'm talking about isn't just calling somebody a narcissist. I'm just not like blurting out, oh, you're this and you're that. What I'm talking about here, what I'm going to talk about tonight is a clinical diagnosis of Narcissistic Personality Disorder. I mean, it's so important that everyone needs to know what this is now. So, like a psychopath, for example, is somebody who honestly does not care if other people get hurt. They think it's funny. They'll even laugh about it. They'll hurt people on purpose just to laugh at them. They have no remorse. They're incapable of love, and they're incapable of remorse. Now, a sociopath secretly wants to hurt you, but they will keep up appearances. So, they have They're like the schemers and the people who do elaborate things to go out of their way to hurt somebody or embarrass or humiliate somebody. So a psychopath will just hurt someone just to hurt someone. They don't do the whole scheming and stuff. They don't have time for that. Sociopaths will scheme. And a narcissist is somebody who just wants all eyes on them. They want all the attention. They think they're better than everybody else. They too are incapable of love. They cannot feel love. And they don't really have the emotional intelligence necessary to have and continue to hold on to a really good relationship. Although some people end up in relationship with a narcissist for years, it's hard to get out of it. Narcissists, a lot of times, they become abusers. So after this coming up message, I'm going to get right into it. We're going to talk about narcissism today as a narcissistic personality disorder. And it's my goal that if by the end of this, you're going to have so much information and knowledge that you'll feel empowered and you'll never be in this situation again to be in a relationship with one of these people, one of these toxic people. Now, this week we're going to talk about what narcissism is. Next week, we're going to go over what deal breakers are and boundaries. Because if you have your own set of boundaries and deal breakers, like if someone has X, Y, and Z as a factor, absolutely it's a deal breaker. They're not for you. And boundaries, if you know what boundaries you don't want crossed and someone crosses that boundary, you don't owe them an explanation. You could just leave. You don't have to have a relationship with somebody who would cross your boundaries. So, all right, guys, when I come back, we're going to go over some stuff about narcissists. Hey you, have you ever thought about having your own podcast like me? Was it even a New Year's resolution? For me, it sure was. But as I've been looking into this for months, I was daunted. There's so many questions I had. When I was trying to get this off the ground, I was wondering, how do I record the episode? How do I get it across all the platforms? How do I get my podcast on Apple Podcasts when I don't even have an iPhone? How do I get it onto Spotify and all the other places? How do I get people to listen? And how do I make money from my podcast? How do I edit it? Oh my God, I had all these questions and I was so confused until I discovered the simple answer is Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and it is ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. All you need to do is record it. You don't have to go out and look for people to advertise on your show. They help you. So basically what I like about podcasting is I don't have to have a video of myself. You don't know if my hair is dirty or if I'm still in my pajamas or even if I'm wearing makeup. Haha. And it's so easy. I could do this from the comfort of my own home in my living room using this amazing app right from my cell phone. So easy, right? So if you've always wanted to start your own podcast and make money, by the way, doing it, please go to anchor.fm/start. That is anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters that are already using Anchor. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to favorite you. Woohoo! Let's be broadcast podcast buddies. I'll see you there. All right, guys, I'm going to try to get into this. I'm still extremely tired. I know that this is a pretty intense symptom that a lot of people are having right now. So let me try to get through this quickly, this information. Then I'm going to go right back to bed and just sleep until tomorrow. Man, really, I'm so sleepy. Okay. Normally, I have a great deal of energy, so as you could tell. All right, so if you are a light worker and you're on the spiritual path, and especially if you're an empath, you're going to be much more likely to be attracting a narcissist or somebody with NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder. So I'm bringing this up because it's become so common and so prevalent, and this is really, really hurting a lot of people. Especially people that are really soft and very sensitive and very sweet, empaths. And then they get involved with the narcissist and they keep thinking they could change the narcissist, If only he had enough love and understanding, if only she wasn't so misunderstood, If you're an empath, you're going to make an excuse for someone like this because you think you could be the magic pill that changes their personality, but you can't. So narcissism is generally caused by a child that is not raised with discipline, a child who will act out when they get punished to the point where the parents are afraid to punish the child for fear of consequences or violence. A lot of times, I believe it's caused by brain damage, which could be from any point, from in the womb or during the birthing process, or possibly just falling on, a child falling on his or her head. It could be a number of things that causes this, but I know that it's all shaped by early behavior. If a parent is suffering from false guilt over maybe the other parent dying or leaving, that can lead to narcissism in a child as well. But I'm not going to focus on what leads to it. I'm just going to focus today mostly on what is it, how do you recognize if you are a victim of Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome. And I'm going to give you the 9 levels of narcissism. There's 9 different types of narcissists. So after I tell you this, you're going to understand completely what you need to avoid. So also, I'm going to give you the 5 key phrases that you can use to disarm a narcissist. You say these things and it's going to stop them dead in their tracks. All right. So the 6 strong signs that you are a victim of Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome. The number 1 is You almost always feel alone to the core of your soul. You feel so lonely, and you always feel this way, even if you're in the same bed or in the same room as a person who is your significant other. If that person is a narcissist, then you will feel more alone with them than when you are alone. If you find yourself sleeping in a fetal position and your upper back is hurting every day when you wake up, that's one sign. If you are emotionally isolated, like physically isolated from your families or your friends, or your significant other will hold you away from his or her family, and you're always like just alone with that person. You don't really go out with her and her friends or her family. It's only just you and her, or if it's only just you and him. That's a clue. It's a clue he or she might possibly be a narcissist. So the second strong sign of narcissistic abuse syndrome is that one of the feeling or the vibe of you're not good enough. You don't feel good enough. If you're being mocked or ridiculed by your significant other, and he's telling you that you don't know what you're doing or you're not good enough, that's a sign that this person's possibly a narcissist. Now, the third strong sign of narcissistic abuse syndrome is you feel engulfed by the relationship. It brings you a great deal of anxiety, and you don't really have much mental space left to think of anything else. That's a strong sign of it. Now, the fourth strong sign of narcissistic abuse syndrome is you have begun to compromise your personal integrity and your own values in order to please that other person. So if you have a lot of morals and you consider yourself to be a person of value and integrity, and then you start kind of bending the rules and kind of letting things slide a little bit because you don't want to lose that relationship or you want to please that person. So you pretend it's funny, when you see something that normally would turn your stomach and something that this person thinks is funny, and then you laugh. For example, like America's Funniest Home Videos. I never thought that was a funny show. I mean, for me, it's about a bunch of animals and babies and old people getting hurt and young able-bodied people laughing at them. Now, I've got a really good sense of humor. I'm a Heyoka shaman, but it always bothered me that people would laugh at other people's misfortunes. I mean, some of those videos were funny, but I mean, how this was like this huge, I don't know, it's this huge trend to watch that show. It really bothered me when that was like the show to watch it was like every Friday or Saturday. But if you have begun to compromise your personal integrity and values, it's time to reevaluate the relationship and why are you with this person. Now, the fifth strong sign of narcissistic abuse syndrome is you feel unworthy due to your partner's name calling. If your partner's, calling you names that just, like dummy, or I don't know, just anything that would insult your intelligence, anything that would insult you as a person or insult your physical body, even your sense of style. Like if, your partner's making fun of your clothes, it's time to reevaluate if this person is doing this to you. Now, the sixth strong sign that you are a victim of narcissistic abuse syndrome is if you just feel exhausted by the cycles of hurt and rescue. And also if you are aware that being with this person, there's like the fear of abandonment is a major issue. If the other person gives you the silent treatment because you didn't get home on time because of traffic or whatever, and they don't believe you when you try, hey, look, I got a video of it. Oh, I don't believe you. That would be what a narcissist would do. So if you just become so exhausted, it's just exhausting. The drama is exhausting. The cycles of, they'll hurt you, then they'll be sorry, then they'll rescue you, and then everything's good for a couple days, and it's like this ongoing cycle of abuse. So if you resonate with any of those 6 things, this is probably something that you need to look into more for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to tell you before we get into all the different types of narcissist. I'm going to tell you a secret. If a narcissist is in your life and they're irritating you, and you can't just extract yourself from their life, like say this is your boss or, your husband or, someone that's in your life, you just, like a mother-in-law or something, you just can't get away from this person. If you can't get away from this person and they're not leaving you alone, a nice secret to handling a narcissist is just, you could irritate them by being really silly, being funny, laughing, having fun, telling jokes. The stupider the better. Just really geek out, wear a funny hat, or funny body language. Ministry of Silly Walks comes to mind. Just stretching your arms above your head in a really weird and funny way. Wearing a goofy shirt. If you're a woman, wearing goofy colored lipstick. Because they don't want to play with you. Narcissists are very serious. They take themselves serious. They feel like their life is more important than other people's lives, so they're very serious. So if you act funny and weird and silly and goofy, it's going to irritate the crap out of them, and they're probably going to go away and leave you alone. So while I'm telling you the 9 types of narcissist, just have it in the back of your mind. Imagine that if you do have one of these people in your life, just what can you do to be really goofy? Maybe you go buy a really ugly sweater that would just irritate them. I don't know. Like the ugly sweater parties at Christmas time that people have in the States. I don't know, just something silly, something funny. Especially if you're especially if you yourself are an empath, and then you're going to attract the narcissist. So, one way to protect yourself: just act like a goofball. All right, so there are 9 types of narcissists, and the first one I'm going to talk about is the cheater. This is the person who will just think that sex is there to be had and it's of no consequence if they cheat on you or if they have 5 or 6 women in 5 or 6 cities because they're the important person and no one else is that important to them. So they cheat. They can rationalize. They rationalize their behavior. And they're liars. And they are masters at deception. I mean, they'll string along acquaintances and I don't know. It's all about stroking their own egos. There's a lot of self-doubt going on, even though they act like they're God's gift to the world. You know, God's gift to men or God's gift to women type of attitude. You know, I was with somebody who I think is this, and I mean, if he had never cheated on me, we probably never would have broke up. But I can't trust him now. And the more I looked into this, the more I realized, oh yeah. But something he told me was when he was back in the military, he slept with over 600 people. I'd already known him for a couple of years when he told me this. And I was like, what? He goes, oh yeah, well, you know, it's just there. New girl every night. It was just there for me. And it was like, whoa, that was like such a bad and weird attitude. So if you ever meet a guy who kind of brags about sleeping with a lot of people, yeah, that's a huge clue. Red flag. So it's not very fair when you come across a cheater narcissist. This kind of narcissist also has a lot of charisma and sexual energy, and you'd be naturally drawn to a person like this because they're sexy. You know, they've got that sexy energy, and that's what helps them to cheat and get so many people interested in sexuality with them, is because of their energy and the way they look and the way they move. And so the cheater narcissist is one that's, it's hard when you meet someone like this. If you don't see through it right away, this person can really hurt you. You know, they'll be out to harm you, and they will get people always with them at their beck and call. This ex of mine, he would come and pick me up in another woman's car. You know, the hubris. I mean, like, come on. As soon as I figured all this out, then I ended it. But, I mean, that's what a cheater would do. Oh, I need a car. He got a car from one woman and got a phone from another woman. He was storing some of his stuff in my house. You know, I had it, and then after I figured it all out, I was like, whoa. It's crazy, you know? And this has nothing, and if someone cheats on you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. It has nothing to do with your ability to have good sex or not. It has nothing to do with you. By the way, so if anyone does cheat on you, don't think about how it reflects on you, because remember yesterday, false association. Don't associate yourself, not even with your twin brother or sister. You know, don't allow someone's ill behavior to reflect poorly on you, because that's just, it's like false association, false guilt. Don't do it. All right, so the second type of narcissist is the selfish jerk type. This is a very easy narcissist to spot, because he or she will be really conceited, filled with hubris, egotistical. They will refuse to spend time even learning about you or anyone else. Every conversation revolves around them and what they want in their life. And even when a decision will be affecting many, many people, they will always make the decision so that their needs come first above all others. Even if they're a parent and they have kids to think of. Their needs will come before their own children. So basically, the selfish jerk type. The third type of narcissist is the smooth talker. Smooth talker is kind of like a used car salesman stereotype. These people are the gaslighters. There's a movie I mentioned last week about called Gaslight, about a man who wants his wife to believe that she's going crazy to get her out of the picture. I think so he could either have an affair or steal her money. He was a despicable person, but he was a gaslighter. He was a narcissist. And so he was this part. He was a smooth talker. You know, he'd say, honey, I asked you to put out the gas lights. And he'd go around lighting them up again. And then he would say, I thought I told you to do the gas lights. And she would say, I did. And he's like, well, you must be going crazy because they're still on. So, and so kind of obviously drove her crazy. Well, that's what a gaslighter does. It's what a smooth talker does. They will make any issue or problem that you have in the relationship all about you and what's wrong with you. They're always filled with witty remarks, and they will make everything into your fault. They will twist and turn and manipulate everything that you say, and they'll make it about you, like it's your fault. You're the one that needs therapy. You're the one that's crazy. I'm the one that's normal. You're the one that, you know, and something will happen and they'll say, what are you talking about? That's not true. That didn't happen. And it's crazy because even if you have proof, even if you have a videotape, they'll still deny it. I mean, look at the President of the United States right now. He's one of these smooth talker types. Definitely is a narcissist. He is a clinical narcissist. And everything's about Hillary Clinton and it's all her fault, right? I don't know if you noticed that. You know, he makes some stuff other people's fault. You know, he's blaming stuff on Obama. Obama hasn't been in office in 2 years. So, you know, you could look at him and say, oh, yeah. And he's a gaslighter. He'll say, well, I told you this, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, no, you could go back and see the video clip where he said completely the opposite thing. And it's hilarious. On Trevor Noah, he's constantly pointing out, he said this 3 years ago, but this week he's saying the opposite thing. And they're gaslighters, and they could just talk you into believing anything, even though you know better, but they get you to doubt yourself. And once you start to doubt yourself, that's when they get you. So the fourth type of narcissist that there is the know-it-all. They will take any spotlight from you to make it all about them. They act like they know it all about everything. Even you could be an expert on something, but then someone asks you at a party a question, they will come over and say everything they know about it, as if their knowledge is more important than your knowledge. Like maybe you have a PhD in a topic and they read one magazine article, but they'll make it all about them and how great they are because they have this knowledge. So a know-it-all narcissist will take the spotlight from you. They'll make it all about them. They also, what fits into this category is your bullies. You know, the bullies that will outshout others and intimidate other people. And they'll scoff at any input you might have to a conversation. But they'll widely snidely steer all the attention back to them. And these people can be very manipulative and very ruthless. They'll talk over you. They will bend over backwards to steal your ideas. And they will browbeat you with exhaustive arguments. But if you see a know-it-all, you're going to know it. That one's an easy one to spot. The cheater, you don't always know. The smooth talker, you could figure it out, but it takes a little bit. And the selfish jerk, you just got to gather up enough evidence to see. Just pay attention. Now, the next... and here comes allergies now. Oh, great. Okay. The next type of narcissist is the Romeo. Now, this is the really, really good-looking guy, or the really hottie patati woman, right? These are extremely good-looking people. They are the masters of seduction. They always smell better and look better, and if they're women, their makeup is better. If they're men, their suits probably Armani, something really nice. They're always better dressed than other people. They will fawn all over you and dote on you until you get so interested in them that you will do the same. And then they will turn around and ignore you as if they don't know who you are and act like you don't exist. This is a pretty hurtful one, the Romeo. So, if you find someone who's really good looking, it doesn't mean they're a narcissist or a Romeo version of a narcissist, but it's, you got to look at the whole person, the whole thing. Oh boy, I maybe I have a illness. I think I'm coming down with something. Oh my gosh. As soon as I get off this, I'm going to use my Rife app and do this for the common cold. All right. Now, the sixth type of narcissist. Oh, I'm trying to think of the name of it. There was an episode of Seinfeld. Or no, it wasn't Seinfeld. It was Friends, where Jennifer Aniston's character dates this guy who ends up being a complete rageaholic. Like, he's so angry. But only Ross can see it, so everyone thinks that Ross is just jealous. It's a hilarious episode, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's towards the end of the series. Anyway, the sixth type of a narcissist is a rageaholic. They will come across as very calm, very gentle, and just unusually sweet. They'll be very relaxed and gentle, and you just think, oh, cool, easygoing person, until you suggest anything that's remotely against what they want. If you mention anything that resembles a flaw in their looks or their personality, then pretty much all hell breaks loose, and they just become filled with rage. Now, if you go back and remember that narcissism does stem from having a low self-worth and also from self-loathing, because you have narcissistic parents that don't show the right kind of love for the kid, and the kid grows up not knowing what that is. And they end up hating themselves because their parents acted like they hated them. And that brings them a low self-esteem and low self-worth. So, In a narcissist, especially in a rageaholic, much time will be spent defending themselves against anything that they perceive might possibly weaken them. It's always stuff from outside of them. They're always afraid of that because they have a very fragile ego. They cannot tolerate any criticism whatsoever because their self-image is very fragile. Now, the next type of narcissist is the seventh one, the control freak. Now, a control freak wants to control everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, and everything about everyone around them constantly. They want to control them. And if you disagree with them, they will just completely and legitimately totally freak out. They can't handle it when people don't agree with them. Everything has to be about them. About the way they want the house, about the way they want to cook the food, about the schedule, about everything. Control freaks. So, okay. The eighth type of narcissist is so freaking exhausting. This is the person who is the victim. Oh my God. I have a friend who's constantly, like every day, he will write to me about how he's already in bed because he feels sick. And he'll like go into detail, keep talking about how he feels sick every day to try to get me to feel sorry for him. And I'm like, well, maybe you should start eating vegetables, to raise your immune system. Because I don't want to have it. I don't want to have that kind of conversation. So he doesn't talk about it anymore, but the victim is definitely a form of narcissist. These people will just suck all the air out of a room. I mean, the conversation is always about their misfortune, and everything comes back around to them, and it's always about bad stuff. It's about negative stuff, and they trap your attention by talking about this stuff and making you feel sorry for them. So not only are you giving them attention, now you're giving them your emotions too, because you feel bad for them. And then when you offer solutions, that's how they rope you in. So they will one up your problems, and they won't notice or even care that they've trivialized your very valid feelings. Their self-pity is so sure and so over-consuming and overwhelming for them that in reality you don't even exist for them. You're just like a sounding board so they can hear themselves talk about their own, about their own victimhood, I suppose. These people are excessively self-involved. So, the ninth and final type of narcissist is the spiritual narcissist. And this is the most dangerous type of narcissist you're ever going to meet, because they convert any spirituality, religion or spirituality, they'll convert it to meet their own needs and achieve their own ends. All right, so their behaviors will always be about themselves and in relationship to how they're superior spiritually than you. They know because they know, and you don't know because you don't know anything, because they're narcissists, but they do it in a spiritual way. I went over to, my friend invited my husband and I over to his friend's house so we could see him. He was here from India. And the guy whose house it was kept trying to force me to watch some random video about his guru. And I finally just had to say, look, I'm not interested in your guru. And I'm not here to be your religion or whatever. I'm here to visit my friend, Yogi Shanti, because he called me up and invited me. And then and so this guy was like, oh, okay. Well, he's the best. And so if you have any questions, because I could lead you down the correct path, it was obvious that he was a spiritual narcissist. It was like ridiculous. It's like trying to force his religion on me like that, in his home, like I'm a captive audience. So it was like even more ridiculous. But yeah, the spiritual narcissists, a lot of times can be priests, or in a normal church, but the priests that take advantage of kids and they justify it because they're priests, like they have a hotline to God, and so the idea that they belong to the church, and so they are beyond reproach and can't go to jail for harming people in their flock. That's an example of a spiritual narcissist. All right, so now what makes a spiritual narcissist so bad? Well, a spiritual narcissist, there's 6 things here that makes them really bad. The first thing is a spiritual narcissist will justify harming other people via spiritual means with spiritual explanations, such as if you called a coke dealer a shaman because cocaine is a drug, but they could stretch the truth and then act like that's, whereas the coca leaves are sacred to the natives here in South America. But I don't know if a spiritual narcissist would be the kind of person that would basically call a coke dealer a shaman, and then they would justify it and they would hurt people with it just because it'd be to their own ends, They like to think of themselves as a spiritual savior. So the whole isolation thing again comes up. So any kind of, someone who would run a compound and keep a group of people away from the public, and Waco, Texas, for example, the guy who ran that cult, he was a spiritual narcissist. Oh, I see his face plain as day. David Koresh, that's his name. So he was an example of a spiritual narcissist. So another sign of someone being a spiritual narcissist is just basic snobbery, having an attitude of superiority, like they're better than everyone else because they're in charge of that church or that cult that they started. Somebody who's a spiritual narcissist will flip between Jekyll and Hyde. They'll be a really good person one day, next day they'll just be out of control, yelling, violent. And they just go back and forth because remember, a narcissist is always suffering from a very fragile ego. Sorry. So, so the fourth thing that makes a spiritual narcissist a spiritual narcissist is they will use spiritual jargon to intimidate people. And I've noticed this with the Christian preachers that are on TV a lot. They'll use words that in the average community people don't use. And it's like, whoa, what are they saying? And it takes you a minute before you get used to what they're saying. And I feel like in a way that's a manipulation, almost like a hypnosis to get people to bend to their will. So using spiritual jargon to intimidate other people, make other people feel dumb. And spiritual narcissists are masters of double standards. So just think of like a guy who gets 1,000 people interested in building up a compound, and they're working around the clock to build the buildings and make all the food, but the guy who started it is just laying around his bungalow just watching Jerry Springer. That would be the master of double standards. There's an example of that. So the sixth sign that someone is a spiritual narcissist is if they justify their internal issues with external factors. Like, the world is messed up, so there's no point in me becoming a better person. I'm not the worst one out there. It's just, justifying internal issues with external factors. That's my mom's fault, She called me a name 35 years ago, so, there's my reason to be mean to you today. A spiritual narcissist will do that. A lot of narcissists will do that, actually. But blaming, the world is messed up, or everyone screwed up their karma, using spiritual terms to manipulate and use as an excuse why not to get ahead in life is what a spiritual narcissist would do. So, what do you do if you are stuck in a relationship right now with a narcissist? Well, I'm going to give you 5 key phrases that you can say that will disarm a narcissist. And it'll basically stop the argument so that you can leave the room or leave the office or the building you're in, If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's probably time to get out of it. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you these 5 key phrases. Now remember, acting silly, laughing, having fun, just really geeking out with your body language, wearing a silly hat, just acting like that will keep a narcissist away from you if it's like someone at work, because they can't stand just frivolity. All right, so, oh my God. I am just like, I sound like I'm getting a cold worse and worse. Well, all right, shoot. I'm going to use my Rife app. Hopefully tomorrow I will be healthy. Okay, so the 5 key phrases to disarm a narcissist is, number 1, you say, "Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way." So if they say, "You're a bad person, and that's why I can't be a good person around you," which is something a narcissist would say, just go, "Oh, well, I'm sorry you feel that way." The second thing you could say is, "Well, I can accept your faulty perception of me. That's okay." So if a narcissist says, "Well, you're not good looking enough for me, look at me and look at you, you need to lose 10 pounds. "Oh, well, I can accept your faulty perception of me. Sure, I can accept that you have a faulty." So, see, this is a way to disarm the narcissist. They're not going to know how to react to this. Okay. Let's see. The third key phrase to disarm a narcissist is, I have no right to control how you see me. So they'll make them scratch their head too, like, wait, what? I'm going to read it again. I have no right to control how you see me. So someone says, well, you're too old for me, or you're too fat, or you're too this, or you're too that. Just say, okay, well, I have no right to control how you see me. That'll just disarm them in 2 seconds. It could be like, The fourth key phrase to disarm a narcissist is, I guess I have to accept how you feel. So if a narcissist, well, I feel you doing this, I feel you doing that. Well, okay, well, I guess I just have to accept how you feel. That's the end of the argument, right? And the fifth way to disarm a narcissist, especially when they're angry, especially when they're coming at you with their righteous indignation, they don't really have a reason or rhyme to be mad at you, but they are, and they make up something just to create drama because they're bored. So the fifth key phrase to disarm a narcissist, and this is a good one, especially when they're angry, you say, well, your anger is not my responsibility. And to that, I like to add, that's, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my responsibility. So you could say that to a narcissist. I'm sorry, but your anger is not my responsibility. So I hope that this has helped you guys, because it's important to know what a narcissist is, what they do, how they act. If you see one, if you get to know someone and it turns out they're a narcissist, that now you know not to be in a relationship with them. You can't be in a relationship with someone who is incapable of loving you. Narcissists don't even love themselves. They're incapable of love, period. But there's nothing you can do to fix them. So from a distance, you could send them love and light. You could pray for them. But, as empaths, we're not supposed to, put ourselves in a situation where we're constantly hurt. So be strong, be brave. If you're in a relationship like this, with someone like this, get out of it quickly. If you're starting to date someone, and I went on a date once years and years ago, and this guy told me to meet him at a specific time at a specific restaurant, and I showed up 10 minutes early, and he was already there, and he had already drank his drink. And I just felt like that was so controlling and rude. Like, you didn't ask me if I wanted a drink, you didn't. And then he said, let's go get you a drink. We went up to the front, and he ordered for me what he thought I might want. It was completely ridiculous. I knew in that moment, it's over, red flag, He didn't care about me at all. He didn't care about being respectful of my time, and didn't care about what I wanted to order, if anything, and then try to order it for me. All of those things are red flags. That's what narcissists do. They think that their ideas are more important than yours. They can't love you. So if any of these things rings true about any of your exes, now you know why they're exes. If any of this rings true with someone you're with right now, and your red flags are going up, you got to reevaluate. Try to get out of it and extract yourself very carefully. Now, next Wednesday, I am planning on going over boundaries and deal breakers. That way, You're going to know within 1 or 2 conversations if somebody is a narcissist or not. I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, if I had known 50 years ago what I know now, what I just told you, it would have saved me a lot of heartache, a lot of bad relationships. And this has actually saved me a lot in the past year. I just ask 1 or 2 questions, and the way they answer, I know, well, sorry, red flag just went off. Ding, 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 ding. Sorry. Anyway, I'm here to share my knowledge, anything I could come up with to help, anything that will help my future grandkids someday. They could go back and listen to my advice. There's a couple different reasons I'm doing the podcast, but I just want to help people. So that's why I'm here. I'm a light worker. But I hope that this has helped. I hope that I've given you some good ideas on how to temporarily deal with a narcissist, how to see them, understand what you're dealing with. It's important to know. It's important to know. You got to get rid of the toxic relationships in your life. There's no room in the 5th dimension for this. So, focus on love. Focus on gratitude. Smile as often as you can. Focus on all the good things that you know you deserve. Life's too short to live with a narcissist who's going to make your life a living hell. So, that's it. That's all I got to say about that, guys. So now I am signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Until next time. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.